Hey folks, MasakoX here. Happy New Year! 2022 is here, and after a whole month of no more antics concerning a good iteration of the radish, now is the chance for your fix, ready and fresh out of the what if oven. On the MasakoX channel, we like to give Raditz here a lot of positive attention, since the mainline series and even some of the more recent fighting games don't seem to believe that he really exists these days. It's like he's a myth, but to us, he's a legend. All of this despite him being the beginning of Z basically, and the brother to the main character, but we've gone over that plenty of times here, so let's not rehash old ground. Instead, let's continue our thought experiment as to how the big brother of Goku could have wound up had he been the one to go to Earth instead of the smaller one, and Kakarot also realizing what it might be like had he been the one to remain under Frieza's boot, right? By the way, if you like the sound of this and many other what if stories on this channel, please do give a like and subscribe to get these chapters as soon as they come out. Also, I respond to comments in the first hour for definite, so leave your feedback and help the algorithm, and I'll see it. Cheers! In the last part, Kakarot and Nappa had begun to figure out ways to continue their training whilst not arousing the suspicion of either Vegeta or Frieza. But they were lucky, because Vegeta couldn't give two hoots about them. Whilst that was going on, Raditz and Krillin had met in the 21st tournament, and remember, they don't like each other. But the biggest surprise out of all of that came out of that was the fact that Raditz lost, despite being many times stronger on paper than the Crane Krill. Nope, Krillin used his guile and sneakiness, as well as his diminutive stature, to get the jump on the turnip and hurl him out of the ring and into the loser's pen of shame. Clearly, Raditz hadn't been paying attention to the lesson that Jackie Chun and Roshi had basically on loop, had been plying for the longest time. After that, both Raditz and Bulma went out to find the Dragon Balls once more, but were soon going to realize that they might have some competition in terms of finding them from a particular organization set out for global conquest and to bring down Capsule Corp once and for all in terms of global market share. The Red Ribbon Army. With the one-sided rivalry between Chi-Chi and Bulma starting to brew in the background, it becomes clear that there were other people after the Dragon Balls, since the one that the Pilaf gang had been after had been stolen. But with their portable radar on their side, as well as the addition of Nimbus, the search for this ball was going to be much faster, and he is naturally able to stop Colonel Silver, Raditz, much sooner, and in the jungle. I mean, it's hardly a contest between him and the Saiyan, really. Raditz notes after this that, this whole thing shouldn't be too much of a challenge finding these Dragon Balls at all. If all of these goons from this weird organization were going to be as soft and squishy as this one. However, Bulma is extremely wary of these ones. Raditz, be careful. These guys are from the Red Ribbon Army. I had a look at this guy's identification. Those crooks are bad news. Always trying to outdo us Capsule Corp members. They'll stop at nothing. Also, remember Krillin and how he got the better of you? Raditz shuffled awkwardly and remembered all too well the fact that somebody much weaker than him could still win against him because he was too confident. He coughed meekly and nodded. Yes, dear. I'll be careful. Upon a further examination, Bulma takes a look at Colonel Silver's capsule box and notes that these units are far less elegant than hers. Such basic miniaturization. This is the best they could do? No wonder they were resorting to magic balls to get ahead. Aren't you doing the same? You finding magic balls? Bulma turned to her bow and grimaced. But when I do it, it's for fun. Raditz looked uneasy. Sure, it was fun. On the radar, this prompts us to head for Jingle Village directly to Muscle Tower instead of meeting Suno at the original time and going from there. Raditz tells Bulma to hang back, and he goes straight into the tower and begins to wail on the entirety of the guards and beatniks that are residing within said tower. General White is completely overwhelmed and utterly blindsided by this particular revelation, since in this story, Colonel Silver had fallen immediately and failed to report back to Base and Commander Red his altercation with an opposing force. Raditz had made himself known, and not even the likes of Major Metallotron could stop him. The power was simply too great. But it did make for a little fun spectacle. He did go up against Metallotron Raditz for a brief moment, noting that this tin can was rather imposing looking, but still no match for him. Then Murasaki falls to Raditz as well, and doesn't unleash Android 8 upon him. Instead, Eta is still in his cage, begging to be released, but the Saiyan is hesitant.
What if you attack me when I release you, Even though I am much stronger than you, most likely, I would put you to a very early grave, but I can't take that risk.
Eta then explains that he detests violence, and that he would rather be outside and be left to his own devices than fight petty squabbles for some balmy organization, and now on top of that, probably face certain death at Raditz's hands if he dared go up against him.
You make a good argument. My hands are rather partial to ending those who deserve it. Very well.
He lets Eta go, and the android just scampers off, Raditz not caring the slightest. But that doesn't stop Eta from profusely thanking Raditz for releasing him. But Raditz decides to speed things up a bit. He's having too much fun right now. By the time that Eta had exited the tower, Bulma walked up to him and demanded to know what had happened to Raditz, thinking he is an enemy as well. But Eta tries to calm her down, saying that Raditz had let him go. Oh, so you're not a killing machine?
Far from it,
Bulma.
I am not one to cause harm to others. I have longed to escape that terrifying place, and your friend has given me the chance to realize my dream. I meant to give this to him as a reward and thank you. So if you see him, please give him this.
He presents the Dragon Ball he had been keeping hold of, and Bulma was wide-eyed with excitement. Thank you.
Ader. My name is Ader.
Just then, guards storm out of the building, having realized that Eta had escaped, surrounding him and Bulma, but the droid does his best to defend Bulma before rounding on the guards. Despite him not wanting to hurt others, he will act in self-defense if need be against those who wish for malicious intent. With Raditz now free to go after General White, he decides to skip the stairs, or lifts, and smashes the floors leading to the top of the tower, him leaping with all of his might and gusto hundreds of feet through sheer rubble. General White is taken aback at the sudden appearance of this beast, having no intel on him whatsoever in this story, nor about his tail weakness like in the original with Goku. Raditz has no time for games though, and demands the Dragon Ball from those bad guys who dared to entrap Android 8. White is callous.
That rust bucket? He couldn't hurt a fly. What kind of nonsense did he fill you with?
Raditz is not willing to listen, and instead is actually kind of feeling frisky, challenging White to a fight to see how tough he is. White obliges, and is rather buoyed by the contest, not needing to rely on bouillon at all, thinking this would be just a walk in the park. However, that was a bad move. He is floored within seconds and then sent flying into the sky. That happens in the original as well. With the calm now descending upon the tower, the village elder of Jingle Village catches Raditz's attention.
Excuse me, giant monkey man. My name is Raditz, old man. What do you want? I am the elder of the nearby village, and I would be most grateful if you released me from incarceration. Honestly, people around here tend to like being captured, don't they?
And so he grabbed the old man from the cage, leapt out of the hole in the roof, and landed back down on the ground below, before spotting the aftermath of the fight between the guards and Eta.
Whoa! Did you do that, robot man?
Raditz said. Eta nodded, but with shame.
I didn't wish to do that, but I couldn't let your friend here get hurt.
Bulma rushed over to Raditz and gave him a hug, all before presenting the Dragon Ball that Eta had in his possession. Raditz gave the pair of them a high five, before Eta suggests that they blast the tower into pieces.
It's time we sent the Red Ribbon Army a message that we won't tolerate their actions anymore.
And with that, Raditz gladly blasted the tower away with a Kamehameha. When they all got to Jingle Village, the village elder proclaimed the three of them as heroes, and offered to house Eta as an honorary citizen, and should be of interest also to the reclusive Dr. Flap. Bulma and Raditz declined their invitations for this as well, stating that they need to go and finish what they started at the now ruined Muscle Tower. The elder wished them luck, and the pair resumed their search for the Dragon Balls, not needing to go back to West City, and thusly Husky and the Dreamland episode things, they don't occur. However, we must head back out into space and check in on Kakarot and Nappa. How are they getting along with their lot? Well, right now, mostly fine. With their continued training, Kakarot and Nappa had slowly increased their battle powers, but had to do it subtly and carefully, so as not to bring attention to themselves. As in, they could rarely fight and train at full power, as that would begin to pique the interest of Zarbon and Dodoria because, going out on missions and their power, it was starting to not match up. Vegeta had snubbed this, not really paid much attention, but if Zarbon caught wind of this, questions would be had. And besides, Nappa didn't want to pique the interest of Zarbon and Dodoria, the two next strongest members of Frieza's battalion. There was also the Ginyu forces to be considered as well, but they were utterly devastating power-wise, but thankfully they were kept at arm's length. Many arm's lengths away. For now, their goal was to survive and, should the opportunity arise, maybe escape.
Escape? But Nappa, why would we do that?
Said Kakarot after a grueling training session.
Look, kid, your brother's out there. If we're gonna find him, it's better if we try to be the ones to do it, rather than wait for him to come to us and, well, fall into Frieza's inevitable trap.
But Nappa, if we escape, won't Frieza realize? He knows us both on first name terms. If we just vanish after our gains in power, won't that be suspicious?
Nappa nodded. That was true. They needed the perfect get-out clause. A situation where they could fake their deaths perhaps, maybe whilst out on a mission. That being said, Frieza was suspicious, and also started to get ideas of his own. Having grown rather bored of waiting for this Raditz to appear to collect his brother, he chose to play on the narrative a little bit, give his Saiyan pet an interesting scenario, and he some entertainment. He had noted that their gains in power had suddenly halted. In fact, it could be said they had regressed a little bit. That was rather odd for those monkeys. Surely they would be loath to get weaker or plateau, and besides, they were far too young for any of that aging nonsense to occur. Not that he really saw many Saiyans get old, but something was up. Frieza consulted Zarbon one day about this, to which the minion played ignorant, not really choosing to divulge his meeting and negotiations with Nappa earlier.
I can't understand it, sir. I am just as flummoxed as you are. Perhaps they grew afraid of your might and so choose not to stoke your anger any more, my lord.
You are right about that, Zarbon. My anger is not to be tested. But still, that is rather unlike those Saiyans. After what happened, their tempers should be rather frayed. Perhaps I should stoke their anger a little bit. See what they're made of.
With that, Frieza charged his communication division with fabricating a fake message from Raditz before summoning Kakarot and Nappa to his throne room. There, he played the message, and the supposed brother of Kakarot had been sending out a distress call from a nearby planetoid stating that he was low on supplies and in danger of being stranded. He was requesting help immediately amidst the garbled static, making sure that his voice didn't exactly sound clear enough. Kakarot fell for this entirely, as well as Nappa, who wanted to see his nephew happy and safe in the arms of his own family. And granted, he was sad that he most likely would be overshadowed by this Raditz, but he had managed to ensure that Kakarot was strong and capable of functioning in society somewhat. He had played his part, but maybe it didn't have to be that way. Perhaps they could escape together, the three of them. Maybe this was the chance he was looking for. With Frieza's blessing, the duo set off for the coordinates. Zarbon, dear?
Yes, my lord.
Select a few of our best grunts and have them meet with the Dodoria. That should make things rather fun. Zarbon wanted to be the one personally to test the Saiyans, but he did actually understand that his place was at Frieza's side for now. The plan was set in motion, and the Saiyans set out, unaware they were heading for a trap, or more accurately in Frieza's mind, a test. The plan was rather elaborate, but it very much was part of Frieza's desire for some entertainment. After all, he had the resources to do it, and he wanted to scratch that itch about whether those monkeys were hiding something or not. In a fight for survival, those Saiyans tended to not hold back. When the pair arrived on the planetoid, they found a discarded pod, and thought that that must be Raditz's ship. He had a pod when he left, Kakarot remembered that, but when they got to it, there was no signs of life, or occupancy. They found it empty. The only thing inside of it was some kind of beacon. Nappa immediately realized that they had been duped.
Kakarot, get ready.
What, Nappa?
But before Nappa could explain, Dodoria walked out from around a corner and clapped.
Surprise, surprise! Look what we have here. A couple of monkeys desperate for some quality time. Sorry to spoil it for you, but the boss has a couple of questions for you, little boy.
Why would that be? Said Nappa with a grimace.
Boys, show the kid question 1.
Suddenly, 10 of Frieza's strongest lower-level grunts leapt out from cover and set themselves upon Kakarot. Their average power level was around about 2,000, and according to Dodoria's recent scouter readings, the boy would probably struggle. Nappa tried to come to Kakarot's defense, but Dodoria rushed him and grabbed his hand.
Wait your turn, Nappa.
Nappa stopped. He knew that Dodoria would break his arm if he interrupted this test. He cursed their lot. They had been played. Frieza, he probably knew their plan all along, was just toying with them, humoring them. Well, I mean, not exactly, Nappa. Frieza's just very paranoid. Sure enough, Kakarot tried to keep his power down, but the amount of people rounding on him was just too much. He had to retaliate, or else he would be killed right here and now. He knew about Dodoria and how he liked to be a little more on the brutal side of things. He didn't do things by halves. So Kakarot had no choice. He let go of his power, and thanks to that buff that Raditz had wished upon him, he managed to have power and luck be fully on his side. He did not come to any more harm. Dodoria looked vindicated.
I knew it! You two can control your power levels without mechanical aids. There's no way that kid could be tearing through those grunts otherwise.
Nappa realized that the game was up. This kind of insurrection would not go unpunished. Frieza hated Saiyans, and if he knew that they were actively trying to fool him, make a mockery of him, he would most likely just kill them both, or have Dodoria do it for him. Well, he had to ensure at least one of them survived. Nappa let go of his power, and surprised Dodoria by grabbing him and hurling him into a boulder. Immediately, the grunts turned to face that their boss was in trouble.
Kakarot! Take the pod and go!
Kakarot was surprised and looked to the pod containing the beacon.
Okay, which part are you gonna take, Nappa?
Just go! I'll be right behind you!
Nappa lied. He knew that Kakarot would try to defend him if he said otherwise, but he couldn't let the kid die right now. Not after all the training they had done. The boy, he had a future. He knew his time was limited. Nappa knew his time was limited. He had to do his part to ensure that the boy would live, and maybe one day reunited with his brother. Kakarot nodded, he in complete ignorance of this, clambering into the pod. Dodoria blasted the rubble and looked both angry and excited.
And there it is! I knew you'd break one day, big guy! I'm gonna enjoy this. I've killed plenty of you monkeys before now. One more wouldn't hurt.
Nappa had to go all out, but he was amazed as to the gains he had amassed. It was really rare that he got the chance to use it. One of the grunts read a brief spike of 15,000 at one point of one of Nappa's focused attacks. Dodoria was impressed, but it wasn't enough to beat him, and he in his mind was safe.
End of the line, Nappa. Now hand over the kid, and maybe Frieza might let you live. I can't make any promises though. You know how mad he gets when things don't go his way.
Nappa laughed.
Yeah, I know. I can imagine how mad he'll be when he finds out when I did this.
Huh? Did what?
Nappa got into position and channeled all of his power and life essence into a supercharged volcano explosion. He gazed up into the sky that had Kakarot exiting the atmosphere. Good. He was safe. That meant he could use the Blaze Pillar variation, as seen in the Dragon Ball Fusions game, that being the ultimate version of this technique. Dodoria looked rather concerned, looking up, spotting the pod shrinking out of sight.
Damn you, Nappa. This ain't worth pulling yourself up over. Think about this.
This was gonna hurt at the very least.
Trust me, it is worth it. I've had a good run. And the kid's, his, will be even better.
With that, Nappa exploded. The light from it caught Kakarot's eye, and he looked out, spotting the explosion. He quickly put his scouter on, hoping for the best, trying to scan for Nappa, but he wasn't there. In fact, there were no powers down there, only a crater, ash, and death. Nappa had allowed him the chance to escape, and in that moment of sadness, of the passing of his mentor, Kakarot smashed his scouter into pieces, before the stasis field activated, and sent Kakarot off into a very deep sleep, his destination unknown. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Can Kakarot make it on his own out there? Will Raditz be able to breeze through the Red Ribbon Army as well? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later.